Hey YouTubers, subscribe to Line Screw 1.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on board.
Oh! Well, hello tubers. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in this crazy YouTube universe. It's a bit windy today. I hope my windsock is working okay, keeping the mic quieter. Otherwise, this is going to be a crappy video. Anyway, it's sun shining. A little cold, but not too bad. I actually did drive the motorcycle here. It's a beautiful day here on Harrison Lake. Just walking around the lagoon. Lots of snow up on the mountains. I'm thankful we don't have any snow down here in the bottom of the valleys. But anyway, many of you in the comments section in the last few weeks, since you guys all know I'm a Trump supporter and I'm a conservative Canadian and I spend a lot of time in the US of A. A lot of people have asked me what I think about the 51st state of Canada, and I'll address all the permeations and the logistics and constitutionality and what people are saying and thinking and doing here in Canada. So first of all, right off the hop, it's a no-go. Most Canadians are not interested, for the simple fact that most Canadians can easily move to the United States under so many different programs to get a work visa and eventually become a citizen. So any Canadian who's not a felon, as long as you're not in any of those shit lists, you could easily get residency and eventually citizenship in the US of A. In fact, Canada is the only country in the world that people can spend 6 months a year and don't need a visa. We don't need a visa, we don't need a visa waiver. In fact, every Canadian is automatically given a B2 visa without application or paperwork. If you ever leave from Canada as a Canadian, when you leave on a cruise, say out of a cruise ship terminal in Vancouver, your passport will be stamped with a B2. Now, typically because the border lineups are so much that when you cross in your car, you almost never get a B2 visa. It's just, they just wave you through and off you go. There's a record electronically of you crossing. But anyway, so the bottom line is most Canadians don't want to be Americans. And a few Americans go, well, why don't they want to be? Everybody wants to be an American. Well, actually, no, they don't. And the easiest way to put this in perspective, like, as you guys know, I've just spent a lot of time in Europe, and it's like saying the Belgians all want to become Dutch, because many Belgians speak the same language, right? No, they don't. They don't. Just like the Germans don't want to be French, and vice versa. The Portuguese don't want to be Spanish. In fact, if you speak Spanish intentionally to somebody in Portuguese when they know you speak Portuguese, they will get it kind of insulted. And Kiwis don't want to be Australians. You know, you get the idea. Everybody has their own unique little culture. And Canadian culture is just different. Everything that we've accomplished up here in Canada is on a different time frame, in a different way. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm not comparing US history to Canadian history, but if you just look at it on its face, it's a very different course. For example, the United States had a revolution. We've never had a revolution in Canada. The United States had a civil war. We've never had a civil war. You guys had a lot of slave issues. We abolished slavery a lot earlier, didn't have the same issues. And of course, your issues of racism still continue to this day for whatever reason that the Democrats want to keep it going. But I digress. And we actually had a period of time where Canada with Great Britain was at war. The only country to actually invade Washington, D.C. and burn the White House and the Capitol was the Canadians with the British during the War of 1812. But yet we've all become friends and let it go after that. So we have a completely different history. In fact, we've never even had one of our prime ministers assassinated. You've had many assassinated. So, you know, we have a different history, a lot more peaceful. We're a lot more patient to get things done. I'm not saying it's better, I'm just saying it's different. Okay? So, whereas a lot of you Americans, you don't screw around, you're willing to kill people for whatever reason, politically, or not. Where Canadians we're more like, ah, yeah, you're a jerk, but we're gonna have to figure this out eventually anyway, so let's just talk it out or wait it out till your opponent gets tired. So it's just not something that Canadians are interested in. But on a legal issue, I was a professional student for years. I was going to go to law school, but realized I actually should get a real job. So I worked in government, which probably is not a real job, but hey, it got me a pension. So I took a lot of civics courses, a lot of law courses, and a lot of Americans think of Canada as one homogeneous unit, like Canada is one unit, mostly white people. No, we're multicultural, we're multi-party. Our constitution is very different, and constitutionally speaking, Canada can't actually leave. There's no framework. Of course, I guess it could be done militarily. You know, Saddam Hussein did invade Kuwait. Not probably the proper way to actually annex land. I'm not suggesting Trump would do that, because there'd be a whole bunch of problems that would come with a military invasion of Canada. And Canada still has a lot of friends in Europe, particularly the nuclear powers of France and the United Kingdom, who they owe us a lot. A lot of Canadian blood was spilled, including American blood, during World War II and World War I, and Korea, Vietnam. So anyway, they owe us favors. So anyway, there is no constitutional framework for Canada to just leave and join the United States. And in fact, Canada is not just the federal confederacy. That's how we look at Canada, as being a confederacy of 10 provinces and 3 territories, and they are also sovereign. So you've got to deal with not only the federal government, but 10 provinces and 3 territories, and they have their own right to exist under the Canadian Constitution, the BNA Act 1867, blah 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 blah. You don't need the Civics Act, but the Civics course, but essentially I'm trying to tell you, with the federal government and all the territories and the provinces, you got 14 jurisdictions, and of course one of them being Quebec. Quebec already wanted to leave Canada and become some sort of version of New France, because let's face it, years ago they were New France. It was a French colony. And Canada has, when I say Canada, I say we collectively have given Quebec many concessions. They even have their own civil law, Code Napoleon. It's not like case law where the rest of North America uses. So they've got their own language, culture. They've wanted to leave for years, but they've never got a mandate, so they can't even leave. So we're stuck with them. Plus, I don't even know how well financially they would do without the rest of Canada. Which begs the question, even, you know, one province could go rogue. For example, the premier, which is the equivalent of a governor of Alberta, Danielle Smith, if she went rogue, she could just wave the US military through and say, come on in, boys. But, you know, it would be an act of treason towards Canada. It would tank the credit rating of the province of Alberta. So, you know, it would create a big mess of things, because the way Canada is run, it's a patchwork of jurisdictions where our constitution says the provinces are sovereign, this is what they're responsible for. Federal government is sovereign, and this is what they're responsible for. And there's a bit of overlap in a few things that were never thought of in 1867 when this came to pass. So, you know, a lot of similar things like the US, like our postal service, obviously federal. We do have a national police force, but they're kind of contracted in different provinces, and some provinces have their own police forces. Federal prisons, national defense. But we got this screwy system of, it's called balance transfer payments, where the federal government takes money from the provinces that have and balances things out so that the have-not provinces get a little taste of that money. And it kind of annoys the richer provinces, especially, you know, Alberta, because they're like the Texas of Canada. And if anything, if any province could probably make a go of it on their own, it wouldn't be Quebec. It could possibly be Alberta. As long as the oil is there, there's money to be made. In fact, they're a province that doesn't even have a provincial sales tax, kind of like Oregon. Now I know there's still a national sales tax, goods and services, but at least they don't levy a provincial sales tax in the same manner that the other provinces do. So it's such a complicated matter that the actual ability for Canada to join the US of the A, it's just constitutionally nearly impossible. You'd need to get a mandate on a plebiscite or you know, some sort of constitutional question. You'd never get a mandate because, like I said, most Canadians that want to become Americans can already do so by jumping through the hoops, getting in the line, doing it the proper way. Not like a lot of the Mexicans, they don't do it the Canadian way. Of course, maybe somebody would say us Canadians are stupid by doing things the legal way, right? But nonetheless, that's the way it is. So the way we run things, and even the healthcare question, a lot of us aging Canadians, I've seen it with my own eyes. A Canadian gets sick in the US, we run like rats from a sinking ship. We're terrified of paying US prices for healthcare because we've already paid for healthcare with our taxes our entire life. And let's face it, us aging Canadians, our healthcare bills and costs and the need for healthcare increases with age. You know, it's not the 21-year-olds that are doing all the sucking up the healthcare money. No, it's the aged. It's the end of life people. You know, your last 20 years of your life, that's when healthcare is expensive. Now, I'm not faulting you obviously, you Americans, you like the capitalist for-profit system, and that's great if you're a shareholder for healthcare, and if you didn't like it, you change the system. But that's your system and we got ours. Both systems are not perfect, but nonetheless, Canadians could never stomach paying US prices for healthcare. Same with our pharmaceuticals. Federal government negotiates better deals for pharmaceuticals, so that helps keep the price down, and that's why a lot of Americans come get their insulin and so many other drugs in Canada, because it's the same drug and it's often made from the same factory. So that's the way things are. But I will say this, Canadians are really rallying together. When it comes to money, Canadians tend to be a lot more we tend to think in lockstep. In the last few weeks since the tariff talks, so many Canadians have canceled their holidays to California, Texas, Hawaii. They're canceling. The border towns that rely on Canadian money for tourism and their sales tax revenue is going to slowly drop off a cliff. In fact, there was some U.S. merchant in Washington that was interviewed, and he said how his sales have dropped 80% in the last couple weeks. So, and that's all because of Canadians, you know, trying to think, hey, well, maybe we should diversify our economy and not just do a lot of our business with one customer, the US of A. Maybe we should do business with everybody. Europe, Asia, lots of countries out there. So yeah, it's good to diversify. It's like I diversify my income. I'm out riding the crotch rocket today. I think I got a little over 200 kilometers on it, so I'm still a long ways from break-in, which is 1,000 kilometers. So anyway, it's a beautiful day here in southern British Columbia. Put your comments down below. And in the meantime, folks, stay safe, keep your wheels on the ground. I'll talk to you soon. Over and out.
I got you, I got you, I got you.